Oh, boy. Father and daughter were at a farm with several other people. They were tending the horses. In the barn was an acquaintance of the father. The father is outside. The 4-year-old girl is in with the horses. And he hears screams. The father runs in. Now, can you imagine being a dad? Running into the barn. You don't know what's going on in the barn. Maybe the little girl's being trampled to death by a horse. He runs to his daughter's screams. He gets into the barn. And he finds this guy, 46 years old, sexually assaulting his 4-year-old daughter. After the dad takes the guy and yanks him off his daughter, he starts beating him in the head. The guy dies. You want to know why I live in Texas? Dad's not being charged. This story happened here in Texas. You tell me that's the way this story ends in Massachusetts or New York. You tell me this is the way this story ends in California. The family is going through enough trauma right now. The 4-year-old daughter has been molested. The father, in a moment of outrage. I mean, I can't even imagine. Let's not talk about whether the guy deserved it or not, because I think clearly he did. Stu, do you think you could, if you saw somebody molesting your child, do you think you could stop without somebody coming and pulling you off? You think you could stop beating that person?
You'd be acting completely out of instinct at that point.
You'd be just an animal. Mm-hmm. You'd be an absolute animal, Pat.
No, it's absolutely justifiable homicide, I think.
Now, let me ask you this. You find out about it a year later. You're practically an animal at that point. You're in a situation to where you just hear about it and you're at home. Mm-hmm. It takes everything in you not to go kill that man now.
Right. This is you're stopping the altercation in the middle of it. I would argue that this is just a continuation of protecting your daughter.
And it sounds like he only hit him with his fist. I mean, it wasn't like he hit him with a hammer.
I don't care.
Anything. He just beat him with his fist.
Can I tell you something? If there was a hammer there, because, I'm not one. I mean, fist of fury is what you usually think about when you think about me.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, clearly.
If I saw that guy and there happened to be a hammer or a horseshoe or a horse or a saddle or a gun or a nail gun, whatever it was, I'd be using it on the guy. Whatever it was that was handy, pull that guy off and make sure he stops. Oh, I'd stop him. I'd hit him with a hammer. You wouldn't?
Absolutely. You're in the middle of stopping the act from going on.
Gosh.
I mean, if you have a gun, you shoot the guy in the head.
Oh, yeah.
Don't think twice.
Nope.
Think twice.
No doubt in my mind.
And not 1 second of remorse.
Nope.
Not 1 second of remorse.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't have 1 second
after
of
the
remorse
fact, you would.
I think you
probably.
would.
Not me. Not me. If I'm stopping an act and I shoot the guy in the head, not a second of remorse. Not a second of it.
I'm not saying that it was wrong to do it by any stretch of the imagination. If I pulled the trigger on the guy, I would know.
You'd never want to kill anybody.
Yeah, I would know that it was right to do, but it would bother me.
Yeah.
I would want to kill someone who is molesting my daughter. Would and believe it's justified. Not just because I like death or I want to punish people, but when you're trying to stop an incident ongoing, you do what it takes.
No, I understand that. We're not arguing. We're not disagreeing here.
Plus, you're a Republican, and that's just how you are.
I'm actually not a Republican.
Wait a minute, was the guy black?
Right.
No.
It wasn't about.
Oh, wait
not
a minute.
that I
Hold
know
it.
of.
This
I
changes the story entirely.
I know.
I know, all Republicans. It's just all about race, every single incident.
Now,
we have to find the path.
Let me ask you this. Do you think this happens? Do you think this story ends this way in California, Massachusetts, New York?
Oh, this
I'm
guy's
almost sure not.
definitely in jail.
Definitely in jail.
Especially with it being something like he beat him to death. Because, I mean, there is that thought. When you read that story, here's a guy who went in there. No one's going to stop him from, halting this incident. But how long did he beat him afterwards? Was he incapacitated for a period of time?
Let me say something. If he beat him for more than 7 hours,
right, that's too long.
We should think about it.
You should start to think about it there. I mean, if it's over 12,
he's in too good a shape. I mean, the guy. That's
I mean, if he strapped him down to the table and started, torturing him, maybe 4 hours of that.
No more than 4 to 6.
No, seriously. If he became premeditated, if he was like he had it under control, and now I'm going to do something, then it totally changes.
Well, it's kind of weird because when you listen to the local TV report, it sounds like he hit him once. He hit him in the head, is what they said, with his fist. They didn't say repeatedly. They didn't. Although I guess that doesn't necessarily mean.
I think this is AP. The story says father repeatedly struck the man in the head.
All right.
Yeah, but that is.
Can I tell you something?
So understandable.
You would take a guy. Let's see you have him down on the ground.
Oh, yeah.
There, he's down on the ground with your daughter. You pull him off. You take him, and wouldn't you shake him and pound him down into the ground? His head would hit the cement or the stall so many times. You wouldn't be able to. I just don't think I'd be able to stop.
No.
Just don't think I'd be able to stop. You'd have to pull me off. He'd be dead, and I'd still be going.
Yeah.
Now, here's the really sad part of this. The daughter. She, and I guess we can spin this in our own head, and maybe this is true, that maybe this ends up being a good thing because she saw her father come to her defense, and so she knows something bad's going to happen. My dad is going to be there. And don't screw with my dad. Don't screw with me. Maybe she gets a very empowering message from this and has a very empowering message on men. You know what I mean? Maybe. I don't know.
I think so. I mean, none of us will likely ever do anything so great for their child as this guy did for his kid. And the bottom line is he saved the kid from going through a horrible, horrible incident that would likely scar them for the rest of their lives. And yeah, you know what? Did the person die? Yeah, but did they deserve to die? Yes. I mean, thank God he was there. Thank God he was there to stop it. If there's any...
How many times does that happen? I mean, you don't hear about this very often. And maybe because it ended with death. But how many times does the parent catch somebody? I mean, that's good news. That's good news.
Thank God. I mean, because you're right. It becomes questionable when you get a point of separation. When it becomes about revenge or, it gets more questionable. Again,
no, it becomes wrong because now
you come home and your wife caught your child being molested. And you come home and the guy's being held in the other room, and she comes back, tells you the story. You go in there and you start beating the crap out of the guy. I got news for you. It's not as pretty. It's not as clear cut. But I mean, what are you going to do there? I have no question that, and no problem with a father beating the crap out of a guy who molested his kid. I mean, I have no problem with it. You know what? I mean, he's got to deal with the consequences legally, and that's got to be all figured out in the courts.
Can I tell you something? In my world, I don't think I tell my wife, and I bet she doesn't tell me, if I'm coming home or she's coming home and the police are on the way. I don't think I make sure I break it to her gently and in a controlled situation. I don't have that thing. I mean, how is he caught in the, in your scenario? He's caught in the room. And he, mom's locked him in the bathroom or something and he can't get out. I don't think my wife tells me that.
She's going to be bawling her eyes out. You're going to know. You're going to know something's going on. And believe me, it's going to be your instinct, and I don't know that it's something that you're going to be able to stop. And it's not your fault that it happened. I mean, this incident was not put into motion.
I also don't think my instinct is to kill him.
It might not be to kill him, but it's going to be in there to beat the crap out of him, I'll tell you that. That's going to be my instinct.
I'm a lover, not a fighter. I don't think my instinct is the same. If I catch you, Pat, I catch them in the act, and I'm now protecting.
Right.
You become an animal.
Yeah.
You become an animal.
Agreed.
Your instinct to kill afterwards?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, this is hard to even think about. It's hard to even consider the possibility because it's too awful to even consider. So, yeah, probably. It would be to, just keep beating.
Now, I think I would stop in that situation where you come back and it's somehow a controlled
My wife would
situation.
be nagging him.
Would you stop it? Stop, you're hurting him. Stop.
That's what would happen, though.
I would have to pull my wife off.
Stop it.
I would have to pull my wife off. My wife would be awake at night thinking about how she could get into the jail cell and kill him.
I will say, though, if I knew the police were coming, I likely would stop myself. But my instinct would certainly be to go in there and do anything I could to destroy that guy. Because, I mean, you're talking about one of the worst things a human can do to another human.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, you're of course justifiable in losing control to some degree. I mean, if you can, it's at that point where you say,
thank God
hey,
it happened in Texas.
Yeah,
thank God it happened in Texas.
Because you're right. California, this guy would be doing 50 years for this stupid thing.